I think that's a cue to start. Good afternoon, everyone. A lot of you, I've got the light in my eyes, so I can't actually see faces, but I can see that there are a lot of you. So welcome. It's really good to see so many of you here. I'm Anne-Marie Martin. I'm the Director of Membership for my sins here at the British Chambers of Commerce. Effectively, what that means is that I get to hang out with 130 chambers of commerce in our membership, and some of their members as well, so a great job. Apparently, what I do is I lead global trade and strategic development initiatives. And we have Piers, and I'm not sure that you're sitting in the right order, but Piers, you're there, that's fine, it's all good. Is a leader at the Transformer Company, specializes in using technology and AI to drive business and social change. We have Harsh here next to me, Shah, who is an award-winning data scientist working at the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce, and his focus is on machine learning and data-led product development. And then next to Harsh, we have Christoph Brehm, founder at Level Plane Inc., who's experienced in early-stage startups in digitization across multiple global markets. And last but not least, Jurga Zilinskiene, MBE, who is founder and CEO at Guildhawk, and she's recognized for AI innovations and promoting ethical AI and diversity. And if I've got any of that wrong, please blame my best friend, ChatGPT 4.0, just saying. My job really is to bring some of our discussions to life, but I'd like to set the scene a little bit. When I was preparing for this, I was thinking, that was a good start. Thank you for the drama. Where do we begin with this? And actually, I feel we've talked a lot about digitization and AI in terms of positives and negatives, opportunities, challenges. I do want to start on some of the positives first, particularly in terms of the UK's place in the world in this space. We really are a great place, we've heard that a lot today, to start, grow, and scale a business. We attract some of the most exciting and innovative companies in the world to the UK. We actually have many of those in the UK already. We also mustn't forget we are a world-leading academic research base that underpins all of that. However, AI technology is driving a rapid wave of technological change, transformative change. I know that's an interesting way of putting it. Driving that sort of business transformation and unprecedented levels of productivity for workers across the world, so not just the UK, of course. On the downside, a little bit of that, I think. It also does provide opportunities for more sophisticated cyber attacks. We hear about that more and more every day. And then comes in the debate around over-regulation versus under-regulation. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Antwerp with the Eurochambre, which is the sort of federation of national chambers in Europe, and this came up over and over again, particularly in terms of the EU just transition and actually what does good regulation look like going forward. So while we're trying to figure all those things out, clearly there are limitless opportunities, but the pace is overtaking us. The road to that digital transformation it can be arduous. We've heard a lot about particularly SMEs feeling that they're not quite certain how to do this. How do you actually transform your business, your operations, the way you work? Because it's actually not just about what you do in terms of your business. It's also about attitudes and behaviors. And our research consistently does tell us that small business owners particularly and their teams really do struggle with a fast pace, and actually large companies do too. I think we shouldn't assume that this is an SME conundrum only, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So the work we've been doing at the British Chambers in the last 12 months with our Digital Revolution Challenge group has really been pulling all of that together and thinking, what is it that we need to do in terms of driving some of the policy change, the environment to be able to embrace some of these big transformations. And a big part of that is also something we rarely talk about. And actually, Jürgen and I had a bit of a conversation before, because I thought, oh, broadband, I'm not so sure, is that really an interesting subject these days? But absolutely, and it underpins, or you can't do AI, you can't do digital unless you have the infrastructure to support that. Enough from me. I'm going to ask all of you to say why you're here. What are your credentials? Why are you on this stage as your opening remarks? And a little bit about what your thoughts are around those challenges and opportunities presented by the so-called digital revolution. I'm going to start over there, Piers, if you'd like to start.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Piers Wingfield. I've given myself about as nebulous a job title as I could have done by calling myself a transformation consultant. And in some senses, I'm kind of an anti-consultant because I don't like consultant language. My job largely is to make interesting technology like AI really, really practical for SMEs. I don't like platitudes, I don't like abstract concepts, and there's a lot of work to do for all of us, and as SME owners, as part of bigger ecosystems of experts and companies. There's a lot of myth busting to do, and it's kind of, we all are responsible for realizing the potential of AI. I work with businesses across different sectors. My job really is to think about effective strategy for AI. And what that means is finding very practical use cases for this technology, working particularly on strengths and not just weaknesses and opportunities, but what do we do really, really well as a business, and how can AI help us build the capabilities of our dreams in that sense? So helping think critically about what we need to build and how to scale it. And I did that for a long time, not just on AI, but in different technical areas. For Meta, I was working for a long time there with the World Health Organization, with governments, with businesses across sectors, and now I do that in a much more agile way with the Transformer company. But really, I believe that not every business can be an AI business. Every business can benefit in some way from AI, and the clients that I work with every day, across verticals, of all sizes, the barriers are pretty similar, and I know that the report outlined a number of them. One of them was relevance and the belief that AI isn't relevant to my industry just yet, or understanding. So as I say, there's a lot of work that I do, myth-busting and helping find entry points for those kind of companies. And the really big thing that if I was to ask you to go away and think about in terms of making AI practical for you is to stop thinking about it as something you need a technical expert for. Yes, it's a complex technology, but actually, as experts in your industries and your business, your opportunity is to think about applications for that technology. And we've talked a lot about the economic opportunity. 10% of that maybe is at the frontier of this tech. 90% of it is how it's applied in your domain. So all of the opportunity sits with you, and I would urge you not to sit still and don't wait for the practical to come to you. You need to going out and thinking about it.
Brilliant.
Helpful?
Thank you. Yes, very much so. Jürgen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jurga Zielinski. I'm founder and CEO of Guildhawk in the UK and Evernoon in Hong Kong, Evernoon Technologies. And why I'm here on the panel, I have been working with technology for probably about 20 years now, maybe a little bit more. And it's fascinating that we have been applying technology in our work and what is called now AI for a very, very long time, because I come from the linguistic background. So running language business in technology was something that was underpinning our business. I'm a coder. I used to write code, still on occasion do, and I absolutely enjoy it. Problem solving is something that has been very fascinating and also groundbreaking technology that is happening now. It's truly revolutionary, or let's call it evolutionary, when it comes to the possibilities. So the companies that I lead are working in the UK and Southeast Asia, and our focus is machine learning and analyzing information and data. We have been doing for a very, very long time, but the output used to be a translation. But now we are analyzing data in a very clever way, looking for insights, patterns, and any other information that we can extract to help businesses visualize their information and what kind of insights they can use to power their businesses and really deploy that AI technology in their businesses. And we're doing it at a practical level. We are analyzing data and information for them and helping also now with strategy, because that's something that probably we'll discuss a little bit later in terms of the lack of strategy with the businesses. That seems to be one of the bigger obstacles that we are seeing in terms of deploying this new and emerging technology.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jürgen. Christoph.
Hello everybody. Christoph Brem. I'm co-founder at LevelPlane. It's a Silicon Valley-based company. I'm based in Berlin, Germany. I have been in tech for better part of 25 years. I come actually from engineering. I'm an aeronautical engineer, alumni of the University of Hertfordshire in Hatfield. And then I joined Ernst & Young Management Consulting in the United States. And then I somehow missed a meeting, and I didn't end up in aeronautical engineering, but in technology. And they sent me to Cisco, HP, and AT&T Wireless and others to build the infrastructure of the first .com boom around the 2000s. So I was firsthand there when the disruption of commerce happened, really, the first .com boom. And that was, with all its ups and downs, a very interesting experience, especially when you start your professional career that way. Then my kids were born in 2007 and 2009, and with them growing up, I saw the disruption of communication through social media and other things. So I call it the second digital revolution that happened. And I think that now we are on to the third revolution, which is the disruption of knowledge, because that's what AI is. It's knowledge becomes ubiquitous. Knowledge is available to everybody. The bigger question is, what do you do with that knowledge? And that's really catching my interest in a lot of different ways. And so I got together with an old colleague of mine, Zoe Chavlo is also in the room, who I've known for 20 years, an old Silicon Valley veteran, to build a platform to make it better and easier for businesses, especially small, medium businesses, to do business. Hence the name LevelPlane, level the playing field for small businesses. Because what we can do with AI, and I think we get to that point why and whether we should call it AI, but it's a big data model in the end, to give them better access to opportunities around the world. And I think that fits very well into nowadays situation where we have disruptions of supply chain, where we have new industries, where we have political changes in a lot of countries, and a lot of companies need to reevaluate themselves and their position in the world and how they do business. And we want to be right there supporting businesses doing that, hence also our involvement with the British Chamber of Commerce.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Christoph. Harsh.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm Harsh. I'm a data analytics manager at East Midlands Chamber. Back in 2021, we started this whole project, which was around data at East Midlands Chamber. And that strategy was called Insight and Logged. So what we started doing is we started automating all of our processes wherever we had to deal with data. So this was at a very basic level, but before doing that, what we had to do was standardize everything. So all the data that is coming in needs to be in a specific format so that we can utilize it to create reports in an automated manner. So starting our journey from there, we started creating our reports, and then we started personalizing reports for the people. So from when we started personalizing report, the new opportunities started coming in, and that is when we started building our new models around skills, which is one of the projects that we are working on. And what we try to do is we try to identify the gaps in skills by fetching data on skill supply and fetching data on skills demand, and then try to identify where are the gaps in the economy. At the same time, we also have business conversations, which is through our surveys, and we try to understand what exactly is business's opinion. So this is what data says, this is what business says, now try to make sense of it. So that's all I do. But other than that, I like to explore everything around AI and also explore the new technologies around it. And one of the interesting thought that I always get in my mind is AI has existed from quite a few years, at least for some of the companies, but it has become more synonymous with the generative AI coming into the picture. So machine learning, computer vision, neural networks, they all existed, and they were all sort of branches of AI. And with the advancements in generative AI, which is where now, at this stage, we are able to analyze the qualitative data, which we were not doing earlier, and that is the new age of the AI, and that is so think of AI as not only the qualitative data, but it also helps you analyze your quantitative data. And moving forward, I think there is going to be lots of advancement, as Christoph mentioned. Like, we are in this new era of developments, and this is the time for us to adapt to AI, to take advantage, but at the same time, take a step back and think about how everything works, and then start building to achieve your business goals, rather than just rushing into accepting what everyone is doing, and then just making sense out of AI. So in short, I'll just say, AI is a catalyst to your business solution. AI is not the solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that leads us brilliantly into something that Jürgen mentioned around strategizing. My feeling is that there's such a fast pace at the moment. It's hard to be strategic at best of times, but when there's such a fast pace, it's even harder. I want to dig a little bit, and it feels like a barrier, but it probably is an opportunity as well, Jürgen. If you could, what strategies, what do businesses need to do to be strategic in their approach to this whole world?
It is very difficult at the moment because there's so much information about machine learning, artificial intelligence, all these different acronyms that are emerging, and it's really, really difficult to understand them in the first place, and leave alone how they work, what can they do for your business. And there are so many different opinions about the subject as well. It doesn't matter whether you're a large organization or small organization, the challenge is the same. So it's understanding actually what kind of tools are available, understanding the limitations, and understanding also the benefits of those technologies as well. So this is number one in terms of what is available, what is true, and what is maybe a little bit over-exaggerated. But at the same time, everybody's rushing without taking a step back. This is, as Sash has said, it's not a new technology. This is something that existed since computing, really. But depending on now the only thing we really have is amazing computing power. Yes, we've started to build new models, but actually now is just ability for us to process huge amount of data very, very fast. That is the biggest change we have. Now, in terms of the challenge now, opinions, again, lots of people would have opinions about AI, machine learning, and even today we have a division in terms of what do we call it. So maybe we have to come up with a new name. That would be an interesting one. But so as a result, people are saying, well, I'm just going to be left behind. Businesses thinking I'm going to be left behind. I have to do it. I have to do AI. And they normally would assign or create a team that probably will have maybe one or a couple of technical people that sort of understand what AI is, and they are tasked with a ginormous job to go and implement AI strategy. So, and I think that ability to be able not to go for the gold rush, it is a gold rush, but for those that know how to exploit the gold mine, and that's why we need to step back. And this is what we've been seeing, and one of the reasons actually we are going now into a strategic advice area, because initially we thought that we will be just simply working with organizations, they will have a plan, and more we talked with the organizations, what we find that there is no plan, there is no strategy, and that's what we need to all do, to step back, think about the current application of technology. We can now, for the first time, start to see where technology will lead us. And by stepping back, really looking at what's working and what's not, and what is going to be working in the future, we create a strategy that is useful for our business, for our countries, and for also larger and smaller organizations.
Thank you, Jürgen. Christoph, I'm going to take that to the next level, cultural differences. From your experience, I mean, you've worked in many places around the world, some very big strategic markets around the world. Taking what Jürgen said, how does that translate around the world? Is it the same? Are there differences? What are the attitudes and behaviors around the world?
Oh, that's a big field. You can answer that a lot of different ways, but maybe to add on Jürgen directly, one thing, there's a famous saying in Silicon Valley, if you digitalize a crap process, you have a crap digital process. So the crap was a different word in that saying, but I didn't use that here.
Technical term.
Yeah, it was a technical term, exactly. So yes, that's super important that you need to define the objective. I mean, you can ask ChatGPT what the objective should be, but at some point it becomes ridiculous. But to your point about the cultural differences, that's exactly coming to those objectives. I lived in the United States for 16 years, and I'm married to, my wife is American, so for her, the objectives of running a business are very different than my objectives, because Americans do business to do business and make money, period, that's it. And you see that a lot in United States, in Silicon Valley especially. I think as we see as they march ahead, irrespective of data protection or cost, especially cost, right? I think OpenAI was just asking for $6 trillion to buy new graphic chips. I mean, it's just insane, the amount of money that they're throwing at it to solve a problem. So you have that on one side. On the other hand, you have countries like China that has a more autocratic point of view that just is done what needs to get done, period. We don't really care about anything else. I mean, I'm simplifying, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But, and then you have the EU, which tries to regulate as fast as they can. When you look at the QEII Act right now, it's great. They just passed it. Now the countries have 24 months to ratify that QEII Act. So in 24 months, AI is going to be a completely different picture, so they might as well start from scratch. Plus, it only deals with existing data, right? How can you use existing or newly generated data? But it doesn't deal with HEI, for example, general intelligence or superintelligence. Yeah. And by that time, we will probably be closer to that, and we have to re-regulate again. And then how do you compete on a global level? Now the UK is somewhere in between, right? The UK is still, the UK Data Protection Act is somewhat close to GDPR, and the QEII Act is somewhat adopted, but not really, because you are not part of the act, obviously. So it's really hard how you create a common playing field on this global scale if you want to compete globally. But now there's another force coming into that, and I think this is where it was mentioned in one of the talks earlier today, where the opportunities might lie much closer than you think. I know we have been in turbo globalization over the last few years, and everybody is just looking at global opportunities everywhere, but sometimes the opportunities are much closer. And even the United States, with their China Plus One strategy, now are completely reevaluating how they run their businesses, because China all of a sudden is not as reliable anymore. You have some container ship stuck in a canal somewhere, so all of a sudden your supply chains are disrupted, so you need an alternative strategy. But I don't even know the companies around the corner. So this is where, and coming back now to AI, how it plays in different contexts, I think there's a big opportunity, but we need to, even the yellow pages need to get better, frankly. We need to understand better and more about businesses, how they match each other, and how supply and demand can be more frictionless. And that's going to be, as I said, the challenging part of cultural differences on one hand, but at the same time, a new opportunity to look at business differently. This is where we need to take a step back, look at what my objectives are, can I solve the objectives here or elsewhere? But AI is here to help you with this process. And frankly, I wouldn't talk like this if I didn't build a solution that does that. But but I think because it's a real problem, I see it firsthand, and I like seeing problems and trying to solve them. And that's I think, where we need to try to overcome these differences, because otherwise it will be very hard to compete with the US and China.
But so on that, is over-regulation going to stifle that? You've just said that whole entrepreneurial thing around, I like to solve problems and find solutions for them.
Yes and no.
So what will happen when it is heavily regulated?
It always depends what the heavily regulated means. Does the heavily regulated mean my arms are tied and somebody else is coming in and taking away my business in my country? Yeah. Or am I holding up some certain standards that I can sell to my society, to my people in my country? Because otherwise you can't, and it might be that we have some more protectionist approach in the future around that. I mean, we see it in the automotive industry already, right? Yeah. That now with the tariffs going back and forth, because we're not playing the same playing field. Yeah. And that's a decision that every country needs to make for itself. But I think there's a healthy bandwidth of regulation we can apply. Yeah. And I think this is where Europe is at the forefront. the UK can adopt a little bit more of the US, the Anglican approach of free competition and optimistic, let's enter new markets. I think the UK is in a very unique position there to play a pivotal role in this. And I think this is why I spend a lot of time here, because I think there's a big opportunity
Big
here.
opportunity, yeah.
And there's a lot of potential in this country that has been not utilized over the last 10 years. And let's get that out into the open. Let's get them out and help them match supply and demand.
Thank you very much. Doom and gloom, cybersecurity. Harsh. Tell us about the risks.
We'll
get back to nice things in a minute, but let's do the risks.
So the good thing is cybersecurity will have a good opportunities with AI, but let me start with the risks first. So with regards to like whenever a new technology comes up in the market, the first thing that we see is a lot of people try to adapt to it, and there is also a lot of wrong people who want to use it to exploit things. And AI is no different. But the only unique thing about AI is the algorithms that run in behind the pictures, even the programmers don't understand what exactly is going in. So that is where it's sort of like a black box where you don't know what exactly is happening. You are just feeding in information and it's throwing the outputs. So with more advancements in AI, so right now, let's say we are at this stage where we are only using generative AI, but we will start having like robotic arm processing. We will start having other tools which will be used in multiple sectors, which is like, let's say, automation of manufacturing, where the layer of security will need to be increased, because if one aspect of the business is exploited, then that means someone can control the whole aspect of your business. So more sophisticated cyber attacks will start taking more place. But at the same time, the good thing is, since we can collect a lot of information and we have the computing power now, we have the right technology, which allows us to identify these attacks, it also gives us an opportunity to build more sophisticated systems. So we know what kind of behaviors would be there from a specific attacker, and that way we can stop them at the starting point. So that is just one aspect of it, but then there are some attacks which even some of the large organizations have gone through very recently. So let's talk about deepfake. And we all know what happened to one of the company in Hong Kong, where they lost, like someone was impersonating someone. So those are the new things that will start coming up, and we are still very much in the new domain where we don't know what exactly is coming. Let's take another step back and see. So most of the companies as SMEs, I think what's the most important thing for us is to build on business, is to build on what we want to do to adapt to new technology, but we don't understand the cybersecurity aspect of it. And that is not to say like we are not aware of it, but it's just we don't understand those systems. And AI can help train models in the wrong way also to exploit these systems. And it can automate that stuff, which means you can become more vulnerable without a human even speaking from the other end. So it's just a robot that is speaking to you, doing things for you, and then it's exploiting you. So cybersecurity, yes, there is going to be a lot of potentials where we can improve. There is going to be a lot of potentials where we can get exploited, but it is upon us. If we take the right steps and we put the right things in place, then I think we can stay in the safe place.
Thank you. Piers, that does bring me on to that whole human behavior, social interaction, the impact on that. In terms of, your friend of mine, Peter, did a demo for us at the BCC, and one of the things that he showcased was the way some people can interact with AI at the moment and think that they're talking to, for example, David Beckham, whereas it's a robot or an AI tool. And that clearly can have an impact, and you've just alluded to that. It's impersonation. Okay, that's a great gimmick, it's great fun, you can do all of those things, but actually it could have a social impact. What are your thoughts on that in terms of individuals as human beings, but also businesses and some of the potential risks around that?
Lots of risks, but also lots of opportunity, right? I mean, there are always going to, Harsh said this, but there are always going to be bad actors with technology. I think my expertise a lot of the time is on business, And I would say, if you're thinking about effective and responsible use of AI within your business, the best place to start is with a set of principles. And that's not a woo concept. That's, if you think about your strengths as a business, what do you do exceptionally? And for a lot of businesses, that's we're an incredible customer service organization, or we deliver incredible value for money, and that's your differentiator. You build a set of principles for artificial intelligence and technology that says this is what we prioritize and this is what we care about. Over and above your policies, you can start to build out practical policies, practical ideas for AI activations or for AI projects within your business that meet those standards. And it has the benefit of you being able to cut through a lot of the noise. AI is moving so quickly. We talked about this, but it's very hard to keep up. But you as businesses are experts, and if you have a framework that says this is what's important to us, these are our overall goals as a business, and these are the things that we care about, you can say, no, that's not for us. Yes, that's a priority. You can be more selective about the things that you invest in. And it gives you, we talk a lot about learning and development within our businesses. It gives you context for your people to learn about and innovate and experiment responsibly and against your goals. So I generally think it's about thinking about your goals and your principles, and everything can kind of fall from there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Skills. We have to talk about productivity and skills. And as soon as you mention productivity, everyone thinks it's job losses. So let's thrash this out. I'd love you all to have an opinion on this, because I think you probably all do. You run businesses, so you will definitely have an opinion. How do we bust that myth around productivity versus loss of skills? How do we move more people in, more talent around the space that need to fulfill some of this new extraordinary innovation that's going on? Jörgen, I'm going to start with you, but I want everyone to contribute to that bit, please.
So I would say that we're in a situation, I was in a paradoxical situation at the moment when you think about it. We're sitting here talking about artificial intelligence taking away jobs. And at the same time, we just reported about our productivity being really not doing that well. So really, when you think about it, so the facts are somehow contradicting with each other. So we're thinking that, wow, this is amazing. We have all this tech now. We're deploying the information that is now being generated. And now what we're finding, actually, there's a still shortage of skills. And one thing is really, really important from the business point of view. It's not just about accessing the skills that are readily available, it's actually nurturing them as well. So with Guildhawk, we have amazing collaboration with Sheffield Hallam University, and Sash, we talked briefly. So when we build our technical capability in-house, we decided to really partner with the university, and not to extend that we're just going to take their talent, but we're going to help them to develop talent to which we can tap in later. So amazing program that they are running. So where the second year university students spend the entire year with the business in technology space, but in our case. And then they go back to university, they finish the final year, and guess what? Well, we had 4 placements, and 4 of them came back and they're working with us. And Isaac just reported the news, one of our newest recruits, he got the first for his degree. So we're very, very happy to have him back. But this collaboration happened through looking into the future, what kind of skills we will have, and also the power of universities that have in this country and elsewhere as well. So it's ability to collaborate with the businesses, understand what kind of skills we need in the future, and adjust their curriculum, which is what is happening with the institution that we have the fortune of working with. So yes, there's also a shortage in terms of immediate access. So this is the future. This is about investing into the future skills. But obviously we have a massive issue accessing these skills that we need now, today, to make sure that we actually can find and deploy those strategies, and also the best technical people to work within the businesses. And we have a situation now where it is difficult to bring talent into this country because of the visa situation. And of course, we're hearing now from the politicians, we have a problem with immigration, but when it comes to accessing to skills, it still remains a big challenge, and it's probably a bigger challenge than we were ever experiencing before.
Brilliant. Thank you. Harsh.
Thank you. So this is the exciting bit for me because I work on skills. So, let me start from the basics. So I think we have got the best research universities in UK, and we have got the right students also coming out from it. But it's just us businesses trying to have those conversations with the universities and building those research or innovative ideas, and then exploring things around it. So as a business, I think we all need to start having those conversations with universities and start taking advantage of the new generation of employees that are about to come and that are coming. The reason I say that is because, like, when you look at it, so when I was growing up, I did not have mobile at that time, and now if we see all of the people who have born like from around 2000s, all of them are using mobile and they are very tech savvy. So it brings very new perspective to the business, and it allows us to fasten our digitalization. So that's one bit of it. But then let's talk about what the future looks like with the advancements in AI. So in the short term, I believe there will be more roles around the business development, because businesses will need to adapt the technology. They will need to digitalize eventually at some point. And for that, they will need business development people who can actually build the case for the company to grow. And in the longer term, we will need people who will be more tech savvy, who will be more, whose core strengths would be more around maths, more around algebra and all those things. So think of it as like we need more technical people in the longer run if we want to adapt to AI quickly. But if we want to build something initially from now, we need business development managers. And I'm saying this in a very generalized manner, but it applies to different sectors in a different way. So the roles would be different, titles would be different, but it's that bit around like developing things first. And another thing is the people who are already in employment, I think we need to upskill them. And that is very, very important, because eventually those are the people who are very strong in understanding the business. And they are the ones who are going to carry our organizations forward. So yeah, I think that's me.
Thank you so much. Piers, any thoughts?
I mean, I agree with a lot of the points that we've said. There's obviously a long-term need to be skilling the right people. The pace of change makes it really difficult to predict and say these are the skills that we need to be, particularly with kids. These are the skills that we need to be giving people. I think in the short term, there's a real need to, or if I take a step back, the power of artificial intelligence isn't just to drive efficiency within your business, right? We're not always talking about increasing throughput by a certain amount in order to reduce headcount, although sometimes that's a sad side effect. We really need to be thinking about these as tools to augment people, right? These are tools, the same way that a hammer is a tool. My grandmother used to tell me that a bad workman blames his tools, right? I don't know if you've ever heard that expression, but in the same way, you make a good worker incredible with a great set of tools. And I think by incentivizing and supporting people across your business to deliver or to experiment with AI and to deliver in the functions that they know best, no one knows the work that they do like they do, to prove outcomes against a set of organizational goals. That's where a lot of T-shaped skills will come from. That's where a lot of secondary and tertiary effects will be seen in terms of productivity. So I think as well as skill building, you've got to help people apply those skills within their function, within their business, and incentivize them to do that.
Absolutely. Christoph?
If I might go back maybe to the cultural differences a little bit, when we look at let's put China and the United States as kind of the beacons of progress in AI. And I say this with all carefulness. I don't want to judge it good or bad, but let's just say the leading pack. We have on the one side, we have a very strong technology education in China, right, with a very clear regulatory framework. They know exactly what they can and cannot do, and they are very good technically. On the other side, we have the United States, which primarily has grit. There's people who really want to be successful, and there's a ton of money. That's basically the success story of the United States. And now you have Europe and the UK in between, and we need to find a way within our cultural system to compete with that. Mm-hmm. And I think the number one commonality here in Europe overall is that the education system needs to be reformed yesterday actually. We need, as I said, knowledge is disrupted. So when my kids have to write an essay, they write it with ChatGPT, and then a teacher puts it into a ChatGPT checker where it has been written by ChatGPT, and that decides the grade. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So what's the point? Yeah. Instead of giving them an essay and say, come on, analyze this for me. Let me know what you do with this knowledge. What can you build out of this? And this is what we need in the new business leaders. I think technology-wise, we have good research universities in the UK, in the EU. That's not necessarily the sticky point is really the business side, where we need people and this is again what I want to encourage everybody when I look at AI, take a step back, look at what is my objective, what do I want to do, and then what is the technology at my disposal that I can use to develop this. And those are the skills we need to teach kids nowadays in schools already, and then certainly in universities. Yeah. Because if you don't start, it's going to take 10 years until they get there anyways. But yeah, that's frustrating that we don't get that skill set.
So how do we make sure that this all becomes part of the DNA of any business, particularly a small business, where, although I think it's a bit of a myth that big corporates are
small business for the most part, because those are the entrepreneurial people that have more of that skill set anyways. I'm more concerned about the large corporations than where business as usual has been running okay. Even if you lose $1 million here or there, it's not such a big deal. If I have a small business, $1 million is a lot of money. Yeah. So that's the bigger issue. Whereas at the big corporations, AI can do much more because they have much more data, and so the efficiency gains are very fast. Absolutely. So it's a little bit the chicken and the egg problem. Where are we going to start? Yeah.
I'm going to bring government into the into the equation now. When we talk about public-private partnership, that tends to be about what government can do, be it at the local level or the national level or the global level. So how do corporates, we've mentioned them, does government, how do small business, mid-cap companies, we have to remember SME stands for quite a large cohort, quite diverse cohort. How do they work together to make this a little bit more seamless, easier to adapt, to adopt, to swallow, really, because it is a bit of a pill to swallow going forward, and it's so fast as well. Jürgen, do you want to?
Yeah, so I'm more than happy. So I think we have an opportunity as businesses, really, to dictate what we want and what we need. And I suppose if we are to wait for the government to come up with a solution, we might be waiting for another 50 years and maybe less, who knows, but it could take a very, very long time. And I think the biggest question is about the collaboration, because at the end of the day, the problems that we're discussing about this revolution component in terms of technology, in order to move things forward, we do need to collaborate, because there's far too much fragmentation now with SMEs, with large corporations, in terms of knowledge sharing and actually not really sharing. But the problem is so big now and opportunity is so great that we really need to find a way to collaborate. And I believe that business should lead on the agenda, and it will be lovely for the government to listen. So perhaps institutions like British Chambers of Commerce could help businesses to unite and start really pushing the agenda forward. One of the reasons we do need regulation and we need some kind of rules, because otherwise we might, or will have, not might, we will have a problem with competition. Because end of the day, our AI is built on one component, and the most important component is data. And who owns the data, how we use the data, how we create the data, not just data that we have created in the past, but also the data that we are going to be creating in the future. And we talked about the cyber component there, so there's also a challenge, but nobody's even talking. So once you build your assets, when you have this perfect data to actually for the machines to go and do the magic, how are you going to protect that data from elements that, if God forbid, somebody will come in and just will pollute your wonderful data that you have built? That could be millions and millions of pounds wiped out like this.
Yeah. Harsh, you definitely have a view, I know. Please.
So I think we need to look at it in a different way. So let me put it like this. So first of all, the policymakers, they need to anticipate when any new technologies that are upcoming. They need to understand that, okay, this is the new thing that is coming in the market and we have to accept it. The second thing is we need to be proactive around understanding what are the impacts of the new technology on social, economical, and strategical level. And then we need to understand, like, how do we build the infrastructure and ecosystem around it. So basically what we need, like, what I would want policymakers to look more into is understand how it allows the businesses to drive innovation, at the same time putting less barriers for them to take risks, which allows the ecosystem to grow. And then also, as Jorga mentioned about the collaboration, so if businesses collaborate with each other, it allows a lot of knowledge sharing, and that will then drive economy a lot more faster than we would anticipate.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Piers, the final note before we go.
I'll try and keep it short and sweet because I have a couple of strong thoughts on this, but not all that many. So I think the collaboration piece is actually really important. And the way that I would frame the problem is, and Christoph said this to me earlier, that the way he's building his business is increasingly looking a bit different depending on the industry, right? And I think, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of the economic opportunity for us in British industry is not at the frontier of technology, not because we can't necessarily compete with a Meta and OpenAI or an Anthropic, but within our domains and our industries, we have an opportunity for real global leadership. So if we take, for instance, we think about one industry that works together, shares best practices, collectively takes on risk, and talks interactively and as a group about the right way to apply this technology, suddenly regulation becomes a much easier thing to define because it's sort of industry specific and not about a technology. And you can also start steering investment decisions and start thinking more directly about skills. So I would also look at it through a collaboration lens, but I think it's a real opportunity actually to look within your industry and become global leaders in that sense.
Fantastic. If anyone knows me, they know collaboration is very close to my heart. Do we have time? I can't actually see anyone, so in terms of our team, but do we have time for a couple of questions? Is somebody going to say yes? No. So I'm going to take one. They know me well. They knew that was going to happen. One short and sweet if anyone wants. Or you might save me from my team. Anyone? Gosh, they're stumped. They've saved me. Is there someone? No? Oh, excellent. Thank you. Please. I recognize the voice.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. It's that question, complete wonderful messages there. We have the potential to be leaders. Collaboration seems to be coming through loud and clear. That point on that you were saying about protecting data, data sets are everything to training the machine learning models of the future. Just a quick question, maybe in a couple of words, how do we best protect them then? We've got to keep this, surely, this is valuable IP. How do we keep it here in the UK? Have you got any ideas, suggestions?
Who would you like to answer that, David?
Anyone who would like to speak on the panel who thinks they've got an answer for that, please. Thank you.
Take it.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I think that's a really interesting one. So we can look at it from different lens, actually. So one of the things that is sort of a discussion, and this is like based on what I've had conversations with my colleagues, is in terms of storing the data. So right now quite a lot of organizations store their data on cloud. And when it comes to cloud, it can depend on where the data is stored. It might be stored somewhere in Ireland or in US or in EU or maybe in London. But it's basically around understanding. That is the most important aspect of it. Like when it comes to protecting individuals' data, there needs to be a way to store that data probably in the in the country. That is how I see it, but obviously it's a topic for conversation. The second thing is in terms of organizations, I think you need to put the right processes in place to protect your data. So that can be right from having the right password policy protocols to having the right cybersecurity procedures and learning videos and everything for your staff. And then also educating the people who are in the workforce of what are the potentials that in a way that they can be exploited. So that allows them to be intellectual around the security of data, and that way we can actually protect our data. But again, when it comes to like actually putting data into the actually affecting your machine learning models, it's not that straightforward. So it is very sophisticated environment. So people try to put a lot of layers before that. But again, if you are not putting those layers, you need to look more into it.
Thank you so much, Harsh. And I've just noticed that there's a digital timer sitting on the
I'm
stage.
staring at it the whole time.
So much for the technology, I didn't even know it was there.
Anne-Marie, can I just add very quick point to this one? I think the biggest, so absolutely agree with Harsh, but I think one thing, and I need to mention, is about understanding the value of data. The problem we have that we don't put value on the data. We talk about AI, we talk about artificial intelligence, but we don't put value on the data. The United States of America do.
Yes.
And that's probably one of the things that we really need to think about, valuing our data in the UK.
Thank you. I'm going to get killed. So please join me in thanking our panel. They've been absolutely brilliant. Thank you.